Some days suck. You just got to do it anyways. We're going to do the Richard Neese Podcast.
We believe in all the F words: faith, family, football, and fitness. Check us out on the Richard Neese Podcast every Saturday morning on WKUL.
Please subscribe. Please help us out by growing the channel. We want to help good people get to a better place. Hey everybody, Richard Neese here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Richard Neese Podcast. I've got Dominic Gill here with me as usual. Dominic, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. 6 feet above instead of 6 feet under. That's the best place to be at.
Oh, absolutely. So whenever you're, you got to be grateful for the days, even the days that are a little sluggish. We were talking about before.
Absolutely. So perspective is important, right?
Yeah.
So today, I mean, we didn't really map out a whole bunch as far as content goes. I know you got a few things over there. I guess it's just going to be, as my buddy Zach Gordon would say, tangential, right? So we can just go off on any direction that we want to go off on. Typically, it's our format's pretty free flow, anyways. If you guys don't know us, you've never tuned in, we're here to help good people get to a better place. That's what we're here for. That's what we want to do. We want to give you information, advice. We want to give you some sort of perspective. It may not be the best perspective, but at least it's perspective at the end of the day to help you have a better life overall. Dom, we've been doing this for a couple years between different formats. I'd say we've helped a few people. What do you think?
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, definitely. There's still people that I come in contact today that when we talk, that they still reference the things that we've done in the past and people that we've helped in housing, actually, too. People that were in the rental rat race and stuff. Now, not only do they own their own homes, but they also are running their own businesses.
Sure.
Leveraging the equity in their life in order to achieve bigger and better things. So sometimes those little wins can build up and add on to make bigger wins.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the great things about working with you for all these years, is that not only whenever people are buying a house with you, it's almost like they bought into a system of trying to becoming a better person overall, of like improving their life in multiple ways. You weren't just a transaction, or these people weren't just transactions for you through it all. I'm not trying to go and blow smoke right now.
Right.
But it's amazing how many people you see through the years who have greatly improved their lives simply with a real estate transaction that turned into so much more.
But it's great to be connected with people. It's great to be a part of a bigger thing, I guess you would say. So if you have been impacted by something that we've done, me, Dominic, the Richard Neese team, construction, things that we do in that way, do us a favor. Share our show, share our podcast, comment, be engaged with us. We want to hear from you. We want to know about what kind of content you want us to put out. We want to grow the show in a way that we can help more people and more people. We want to be able to add value to your life at the end of the day. So Dominic, where can they find us? I know you've been opening up some new avenues for social media.
Yeah, so we just launched the Facebook page, The Richard Neese Podcast. All of them are going to be The Richard Neese Podcast. Instagram at The Richard Neese Podcast. Still here on YouTube, and always on WKUL on Saturday mornings. And then TikTok, which has been getting a little bit of traction lately, at the Richard Neese Podcast on TikTok.
So what I'm going to say for all my TikTok fans, I don't even have a TikTok. Actually, Dominic runs it all the time. For the folks that like me or hate me, please keep commenting. That's great. That puts our message out to more people overall. And if you don't like Elon Musk, I don't care. If you do like Elon Musk, I don't care. It really doesn't matter to me. Any man that's built a $1 billion company, I don't care if you think it's through subsidies or what it's through. You don't have a $1 billion company. You don't have $1 billion in net worth. So maybe you need to go back and study a little bit more. That's where I'm at on that. So we want to continue to grow our impact. We want dissentment. Like, I actually want people to say, oh, I disagree with you, and this is why. I don't want you to just post something nasty on there and say, oh, well, you're a jerk, and you're a Republican, you're conservative. You don't even know who I am. Watch our videos, you'll know who I am. You'll know that I am much more independent than most people, especially in our area. We're in North Alabama. We are very, very red in our area. I've got no problem with that. What I have a problem with is going too far right or too far left. Because when we start talking about our system, it's great because there's no progress either way. We move a little left, we move a little bit right. That's what I love about our system. But I want government hands off of everything that I do. I think there's basic functions that we can work off of. I want you to make sure you take care of our roads. I want you to make sure that you take care of our military. I like police forces and fire services, things like that. But I don't want you
enforcing laws.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
There is a purpose for that. Hands off my money. Hands off my family. Keep your hands off all that stuff. That's what I want you to do. In the same way that I may not agree with your lifestyle, you may be flaming lib, you may be a libertarian, more like I am, you may be ultra right wing. I don't want the government interfering in your life. If you're not hurting your kids, if you're not hurting everybody around you, then let's just keep the hands off. You live how you want to live. You live how the generations that came before you taught you how to live, or didn't. They taught you to go a totally different direction. Let's do that, instead of getting into our Venmo accounts and finding out where I spent my $600. How about we focus on just improving our economic outlook and protecting our borders? Let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for the IRS to be asking why did you Venmo over your brother $800 whenever he asked for a quick little loan to help him.
Well, why'd you Venmo Stacey Abrams $3 billion? How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you start getting into that world, you start getting the USAID, you start getting all that stuff. It's just, it drives me crazy because I've seen fraud, waste, and abuse on a small scale working at Redstone Arsenal, and you start getting into these numbers, and people are mad about it. What the heck? You're mad about us finding fraud and eliminating it? It's ridiculous.
Well, at the end of the day, and you talked about it too, is like, oh, left or right. I am definitely not a left, and I'm definitely not a right. I'm one of those people that I try to be as independent as possible in my mind frame. Sure, I skew towards the conservative side, but I do apply a lot of progressive policies in my own life, especially when compared to previous generations. The biggest thing is that what I look for is actually what's truth, what's going to go and make my life the happiest.
Whoa,
you know?
Truth.
Yeah, and
truth.
To quote Pontius Pilate here, what is truth?
Yeah.
You know? But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that I agree with on, believe it or not, with Democrats on some of the policies that they have, and there are many things with the Republican side that I disagree with. In fact, I firmly believe that for the most part, they're working together and they're just trying to steer the crowd one way or the other. And they're playing this elaborate football game where you have one side, the red team, the other side, you have the blue team. And it's like, oh, I'm team red, all the way, or I'm team blue all the way. It's not a football game. It's our own policies, our own life.
Absolutely.
We got to go look past the colors. We got to look past the what we're programmed and what our own echo chamber of that party that we're supposed to identify ourselves with is trying to make us believe and say. I don't agree with that. I have a relative who's very involved in the Republican Party at a high level, and the things that he comes off and he says to me is absolutely ridiculous. It's always the Republicans do no wrong, the Republicans do no wrong, and mainly because I made one statement against the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, which he happens to know. And so it triggered him so much that I had a negative statement towards him, and to where they were thinking, oh, I'm some kind of loser, I'm some kind of idiot or whatever. I'm like, dude, he caved. He caved on a policy on something. It's like the thing he said he was going to do, he didn't do. I'm holding him to his own words, the own standard he tried to set him up for. He caved on it. And
so you mean that there are politicians that are infallible depending on who you talk to?
Exactly.
So they've been blessed that anything they speak of that deals with the government is the truth. That sounds familiar. Isn't there some other person that's infallible like that?
We don't speak of him.
Oh, we don't speak. Okay. So you start looking at that. It's like, are you kidding me? How is none of these people are Jesus Christ? None of them are saints. All of these people have strengths and weaknesses, and we put them there in order to represent us. And if they don't represent us, we need to vote them out. That's what needs to happen. But what we continue to see is these guys go up there and they have this theatrical arena that they get up there and they fight and yell at each other while they're on camera, and they walk off and have margaritas or whatever else as soon as they leave, because they know that we are the idiots. We are the ones that are being taken advantage of. We're the ones that are being taxed 65 cents on the dollar on everything that we make. We're the ones that are having theft happen every single day. Taxation is theft. That's what you get sick. That if you are paying money out on everything that you earn, everything that you buy, I mean, it makes me so dang mad to see that, because I know how much hard work's put in on all levels. And I like to think that I'm fairly financially intelligent overall. And so when you start looking at the ways that I have to work with an accountant, I have to work with different financial professionals in order to protect what I make, and then you look at somebody who does not have that, those people are being taxed at a higher rate and they make less money. So why is this system geared towards that? Let's get rid of income tax. Let's get rid of all these things, or let's have the flat rate like we talked about before, and let's get away from this theft. And then every penny that goes out, we need to know where it's going. To me, that just makes perfect sense. So anyways, I didn't want to get on a rant that way. I just kind of got fired up when we started talking about, I guess, my faithful TikTok followers, right?
Hey, you know what? We appreciate you and the hate that you bring our way, because at the end of the day, it's your comments, it's your statements is what drives our engagement forward. We love them. Keep bringing them to us. As a social media analytical guy, I know what it does for us. So, we're reading good on that one.
Absolutely. So we had a few things happen this week. I had some things that kind of got me aggravated. I had an instance where you couldn't tell. Right? You couldn't tell. If you're hired to be a specialist, if you're hired to be a technical person, do your job well. From the beginning to the end, do it well. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you should do it well. But when you start looking at opportunities where people are depending on you in this line, there may be 17 processes that have to happen. If you missed one thing in that process, everybody could be a failure at that point. No. And it makes me so dang mad when you trust people in roles large and small, but then what ends up happening? The little things always get them, right? I was talking to somebody today, and Dominic, do you know what Al Capone was arrested for? Yeah,
tax evasion.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't arrested for murders. He wasn't arrested for bribery or any of the other big things. Mm-hmm. It was tax evasion. Mm-hmm. So what does that tell you? The smallest things, like an Achilles heel, right? The smallest things are what gets you caught. And in this whole process that we call life, the more complicated, the bigger things that you do, the more important those baseline, foundational things are. Do the small things. I think it was Robert E. Lee that said that if I can't trust a man in the small things, how can I trust him in the great things?
And in the biblical and Proverbs, those can be trusted with very little, can be trusted with much.
That's right.
And I can't quote exact where in the Proverbs, but yeah, there's so much truth to that.
Sure. So it gets so frustrating when you orchestrate this thing, whether it's big or small, the larger it gets, and then one phone call, one bit of information keeps you from being successful. Delays you, costs you money. I mean, you see that. Think about what takes down a rocket going up. Talking about Elon Musk, right? Mm-hmm. What can take down a rocket? I don't remember, but it was some minute detail that ended up taking down one of the space shuttles that the U.S. launched a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Something very, very small where they could have spent another 15 cents on the part, and it ended up crashing and killing people. You start thinking about that. It makes me so dang mad when specialists don't actually do their job. Mm-hmm. You're technical. I trust you in that capacity. Do your thing. I'm not asking you to take on the risk. I'm not asking you to do all these other things. Do the thing that I ask you to do and do it well.
Or at the very least, I don't know the situation, but what I've noticed at the very least, be transparent about what's not been done.
Sure.
At the very least, at least let me know. Don't try to sugarcoat things. And that was probably one of my biggest, I would say, strengths/weaknesses in a real estate transaction was the transparency I had with my clients. If somebody wasn't doing their job, I let them know, hey, this is not being done. If I'm not doing something that fell through on my part, I took full accountability for that. I felt like that the worst thing that you can have as someone who's waiting in anticipation is mystery.
Sure.
And if you're willfully keeping away something mysterious, making something mysterious in order to save face, you're doing a major disservice to your client. So at the very least, mistakes happen, things do happen. Again, I don't know your circumstances, but at the very least, be transparent about what's going on. At least you can have a problem identified and not necessarily have what's going on. That's the worst feeling in the world, is to not know something.
Absolutely. Well, Dom, I don't have a ton to talk on today. I don't know what else you have over there you wanted to discuss.
I mean, lately I have been working on starting my own. It's been a lot of people have these aspirations for wanting to do something on social media, some kind of influencer type of channel, whether it's a TikTok influencer, YouTube influencer, or just in general, a multi-social media influencer. And I've always had that little bit of a knack where I always wanted to be that guy in the background, where I want to help that person move forward with what they're doing, whether it's you, and there's a few other people out there that I try to help with behind the scenes and giving them both technical support and advice and helping them through the process of everything. one of the things that I've decided that I wanted to do was to actually face my own personal fear and kind of get out in front of it and start being the person in the front as well. Because I'm not comfortable with it. I'm okay behind a camera, but I'm not good with being the center of attention. But yet I'm telling other people to be the center of attention, how to take over a show, how to go and lead a discussion, how to go and do these technical things in order to drive more activity, how to drive more engagement, doing all these little tricks. And again, I've had one group of family singers that I've helped out for years and years, and they've have over, I think between all their socials, over 500,000 followers. But yet I've always failed to do the things that I've been coaching other people or telling other people to do. And so last week was my 39th birthday. And so I decided that I was like, you know what? 39 years is way too long for me to kind of not practice what I preach. And so I'm actually going to launch and start my own YouTube channel, and not necessarily in the sense of where I'm trying just to say something, but to talk about things that I feel passionate about. And the things I do feel passionate about is fatherhood, things along the lines of what John Eldridge and Wild at Heart, raising confident, healthy children, being able to go and be a guilt-free man, in a sense, where you live your life knowing that these feelings that you have are not exactly wrong. These feelings of wanting to be the hero, the feelings of wanting to be the main character in the story, that these aren't wrong. Whenever you were told, when you're told by people who have, quote, your best interest is to, be a good boy, sit in the back, be a good student, follow the rules. And when you start realizing that these phrases that were told to you over the years was not necessarily phrases to make you become a better leader, but to control you and to keep you in line. And so it's to break out of that and realizing that, hey, you can control your own destiny. You can become a leader. You can be the main character in your story. And for me, don't want to go and get too sappy here, but I always felt like in my story, I was always Sam and not Frodo. For those who watch Lord of the Rings can understand that. And so now for me, it's about taking that step forward and taking on that main character role in my own life, if that makes sense at all. And so that's been a big thing for me lately, is to actually take that next step. And so, that channel's launching soon. And when it comes up, I hope to be able to announce it here, and we'll see what I can do with it,
Well, so something I think so important is being the man in the arena. Mm-hmm. Everybody can look around, everybody can criticize, say whatever. I'm sure you've heard the speech, but the man in the arena speech. Oh, I see this more and more. Like, I was really, really frustrated last night. There's some pretty crazy stuff going on in our small town just south of us in Huntsville, Alabama. And the frustrating part for me is that I know a lot of these people that are involved on all levels. I know people that are in the stands, so to speak, that are criticizing the public officials in this town. I know the public officials. I know some of the police officers that are kind of on the exterior. That I know some of the police officers are on the interior. Actually, one of them was my field training officer a long time ago. And so the scandal that's going on there, it frustrates me. And here's what I'm going to say. In the same way that we were talking about USAID, we were talking about fraud, corruption, waste. If you do something wrong, you should be punished for it. The other piece of that is, if you sit back and say nothing, you don't get to step up and be a hero once the thing happens. Like, I get so sick and tired of seeing citizens who have never been to a town hall meeting now act like they are the president of the United States when they come to this meeting, when there's a scandal or controversy going on. Where were you at to support these council members? Where were you at to run for office? You think you know all these things, and it's bad, in my opinion. There's usually a group of younger, let's say 25 to 30-year-old males that typically step up in this role. And then you also have the 55-year-old woman that steps up in that role that's yelling and screaming about how she's been wronged over the past 25 years. And then he's mad because he just got out of school and he thinks he can do everything in the world. He thinks that he's the smartest person in the room. And you typically see those two dynamics going on. I want you to be involved. But don't wait until that moment when you're going to complain and you're going to talk bad about the mayor and the council members, the police officers. We should have done this. You should have done that. Well, let's turn that around. Where were you at? 2 years ago, you could have ran for office. Is your name on the election ballot for the next time? If it isn't, put it on there, because if you have all the solutions, you need to go ahead and step up and do that. And I posted that on social media yesterday because I know the mayor in this small town. The mayor of this small town actually was a council member that got pushed into being the mayor because the mayor was removed. So now these folks are coming at him, and I think he's in his late 70s, maybe even 80 almost. He's a pastor at a local church. He's probably helped more people than you can imagine. And you've got folks yelling and screaming at him about the actions of the police department when he wasn't even the mayor at that time. Does he have some responsibility? Sure. Should he have been more engaged on that side? Sure. But you weren't. You weren't until somebody got in trouble. That's what happened. And now you're not stepping up in a way that's a meaningful capacity. So that's what really bothers me on that side. So being the man in the arena is important.
No, absolutely. And it comes down to where silent majority starts speaking up because now they're given their opportunity to voice their frustration and get their 20 seconds of fame. How many of these, if they were truly concerned citizens, why are they coming up now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that you have an event that forces the town to be outraged. The frustrating part for me is that nobody was involved before. You could have been an active part of policy making. You could have been an active part of the council. Nobody wants to step up when it's my weekends, when it's taking time away from my family, and that's what really bothers me. I don't want to run for office. I know what that entails as far as being brutal on your family, but I do respect even the people that I don't agree with. I respect the fact that they were willing to step up in that role in the same way. Like I liken it to a volunteer coach in youth sports. Is that guy usually the best one to coach? Probably not.
No, not usually.
Because usually the best coach there is going to be the business owner, or it's going to be somebody that's really actively involved in other things as far as skill set or knowledge goes. But this person is willing to step up and help kids that aren't his or hers, they're not theirs, other kids, to help them to learn basketball, baseball, whatever the case might be. And so I have respect for that. Is it exactly how I want it done? Absolutely not. But I had to catch myself this year. This is the first year Thomas was playing basketball. I was being critical. I'm like, Kyle, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? I said, you know what? I'm not the man of the arena. I need to take a step back. And that coach is there every practice. That coach is there every game. He's putting his heart and soul into the job, what I see. I need to be quiet. I need to be supportive. And that's where I'm at. That's what I think we should do with these elected officials. You don't like it, run for office. That's where I'm at.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I don't know too much about what the goings on of what happened that last night. In fact, yesterday, people finally started sending me the videos of the first council meeting that they had, or the first meeting that they had. And was watching some of the stuff on that right there. And again, knowing a little bit more about the situation, I probably don't need to go say what I'm about to say.
What really bothers me is when people don't follow the rules of the meeting. And that's council members too. The meeting is designed for the public to go in and state their opinion. It's not an argument session. When it becomes an argument session, it's disorderly, and there's nothing that gets accomplished in that way. These members, and I posted this on social media yesterday, these members are elected officials. This is not a democracy. It's a republic, right? Yeah. So what's the difference? Well, you elect these people to do the best job that they can.
Yeah, they represent your best. They're supposed to represent you.
Right. Yeah, they represent you, and if they don't represent you anymore, when the next election cycle comes up, pick somebody that does. Your opportunity to talk to them is not in the middle of the meeting. That's your opportunity to be heard, but not to necessarily argue back and forth with a council member that you may not have even voted in. So I really struggle with that. I think there's a real weakness overall in small towns because a lot of times you have somebody that is retired and that's the only reason they're doing it, or they have a family name and they get that put in that position. They have no idea how government actually works.
Yeah, well, that can be applied to any level. Not necessarily to small towns. It's more closely relatable. They're a little bit easier to touch whenever they're at whenever they're on a more local level. But the same problems happen to all.
But you think about the resources that are available on a higher scale, even like the city of Huntsville or city of Birmingham or something like that. They have resources, advisors. They have order. They have ways to get the information so they make a good decision based off of that. These small towns don't. Typically, they don't even have enough people to have a zoning commission. They don't have enough people to have a planning commission to help grow their town. And so whoever comes in there with the most amount of money can basically do what they want. And that's a real challenge because it's not necessarily what's best for the citizens as a whole. So that's what I struggle with on a daily basis is when I see that, and it's like, you know what, if you want to make a difference, step up. Be the light you want to see. And I do that all the time. Like what we do as a company is when we see a problem, we don't go ask nonprofits to do it. We set up a time when we're going to make a difference for it, and whoever wants to be a part of that or that group, that's like a park cleanup. We've done a couple park cleanups. When we do that, we say, if you want to help us, that's great. If you don't, this is what we're going to do because we want to see the community improve. We want to help good people get to a better place, and I believe in reinvesting in our community as a whole. And what ends up happening is you're looking for tax write-offs and this and that. Do I enjoy the tax write-off? Sure, it helps out, but it's still money coming out of my business. It's money that could be going into my own bank account. I could be buying my own stuff, but I know that when I was a kid, those parks were clean for me and they were in good condition, and that's what kept me in trouble. I was there playing ball instead of being out doing something else. So I want to make sure there's another kid that has that opportunity. I'll make sure that mom and dads have a place for their kids to go swing at that's safe or that's clean. They're not going to get cut up or stuff on them. So at the end of the day, we want to help people. We want to give back and we want to be the light. Be the light that you look to see.
And yeah, then those are the things that's going to be bigger than your own life, and that's leaving behind a legacy of for somebody. How's the saying go? Is to plant the tree that you'll never see that you'll never feel the shadow of.
Yeah, you'll never enjoy the shade. Yes.
Yeah, that you'll never enjoy the shade of the tree. So, and there's a certain level of, I don't know, admiration that comes with that thought process of doing things in a way that's not for your own betterment, for the betterment of society. That's something that you'll never get to enjoy. In fact, you'll probably never even hear a thank you. In a lot of ways, that's
sure.
It's ultimately I guess it would be a man's version of romanticism is to not even being told thank you. It's like Batman. It's like, you never have to tell me thank you. I'm just doing my job.
Sure. Well, it definitely makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that we should YOLO, right? We only live once, but we also want to be able to take care of our families, our future generations. I want to be remembered by my grandkids. That's what I want. I want them to remember my name and what I did for our community, for our family. I want them to know who I am. So that's important to me. Dom, I know we're coming to the end of the radio show. Is there anything that in particular you wanted to tell the folks, put out to them before we do our kind of social media sign off?
Yeah. So again, for all you out there, please follow us on the new socials on Facebook, Instagram, and also TikTok and YouTube. We greatly appreciate any interaction that we have from there. If you can like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and offer any commentary, even the hateful ones. I enjoy that too. It may not be fair for everybody, but I do enjoy a little bit of the spat back and forth. I think in one of the TikToks we've had a pretty sizable argument going on between two individuals, which is pretty entertaining. I just kick back and with that Michael Jackson popcorn meme,
You guys argue, have fun with that. I'm going to continue to make a difference in our community. I'm going to continue to build the businesses that we're growing and impact people's lives. That's what we do on a daily basis. We want to help good people get to a better place. So please share our social media stuff. Help us get the word out. And that's all I've got. So I hope you guys have a great day.
All right, see ya.